are, Isaac.
Okay, sure. Well, hello, and hope everyone is doing well. My name is Isaac Chan, and I'm the Vice President for Sales and Marketing for Concord in Eastern Canada. For all of you joining for the first time on our Talk On seminar, welcome. I know many of you are real estate professionals from all over Canada and the US, and have been a long-time Concord supporter. Many of you are perhaps even watching from different time zones. Talk On is an initiative created by Concord and with the intent to create a forum to share information related to the real estate industry. Past seminars include partners from BMO, Hootsuite, and LinkedIn. We are very happy to be able to provide this program to a live audience and now be streaming this session online. And for everyone's information, today's session will be recorded and the video will be uploaded on our Talk On website. I also want to take this opportunity to thank all our Concord personnel who made this Talk On session possible. For all the real estate professionals, it is crucial to be able to promote your name, your brand, and your services to a large audience digitally. This is the mainstay of all our fundamental marketing efforts. Knowing this, Concord has collaborated with Grow with Google today to discuss strategies in digital marketing. The recent pandemic and the work from home mandate has emphasized even more so the need to be able to communicate and do business digitally. We as a society realize that it is becoming increasingly important to enhance our online identity and gain exposure to our target audience. And today, we're very fortunate to be able to have with us a very special speaker from Grow with Google, Erin Bemis. Now, Erin was once a licensed realtor before becoming a professional speaker, working with multiple technology companies, including Google. Erin has been educating tens of thousands of people in digital marketing all over North America. And given her previous background in real estate, she can definitely relate to the real estate and marketing needs and challenges that we face in the real estate industry. So please join me in welcoming Erin to our Talk On forum. Hi, Erin.
Thank you. Thanks for that great introduction, and hello to all of you. So I am really excited for this presentation. It's going to be a nice full afternoon with lots of information jam-packed into it, and I'm excited to bring it to you. There are a couple of questions that are already popping in the question box that I'd like to address before we go any farther and really to tell you any more about me, because I've got an intro slide coming up anyway. There are some people asking about recordings. Yes, this session is being recorded in its entirety and will be made available to all of you who registered later this week. Additionally, I'm also going to make all of the slides available independently in a PDF form as well, because I'm providing you with lots of resources and direct links to learn more at your own time or your own speed, or to review something that we've covered. So I wanted to make sure that you have access to that. So both of those will be available to you later this week. That's the most popular question that's in the box right now. The other one is that I'm hearing, or some people are having trouble hearing us. And so if that's the case, please check your setup at home. We've tested ours multiple times in the last few minutes, and we're loud and clear on this end. Oftentimes what I find is that either the mute is on your computer, or perhaps if you're running a double screen scenario, your computer might read the second screen that doesn't have a microphone attached to it. You need to actually attach it to my computer. And there's a couple of people that have just popped in now. Yeah, that fixed it. Thank you. Okay, good. So here's the other thing that I want to cover is about the questions. Obviously, some of you are using the question box and hear it really well and have that going. Because we have over 900 registrants for this webinar, which is amazing and such a testament to you and your team, Isaac. Both Sam and Tweena were awesome to work with. There's no way that I'm going to be able to open up microphones for you to ask a question directly because of the amount of people we have involved today. So as I'm going through the material, please go ahead and type in your question if you have one into the question log. And when I get to the end, I do have time set aside after each section to answer questions. And so I'll do my best to get through as many of them as we can. Sound good? All right, let's go ahead and go. Isaac, good to see you. I'll see you again in a little bit. We're going to turn off our webcams and go to the screen so everyone can hear. All right. There we go. Let me back myself up. All right. Our first topic of the day, reach customers online with Google. This might be my favorite topic when it comes to talking about Google because we talk about a lot of different things. And as I mentioned, I'm going to give you a little intro to myself, besides the fact that, yes, once back in the day, I was a licensed realtor for a hot second, right before I started having children, and then my life just changed, as it often does after you have kids. So if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, feel free. I would love to connect with you there. And also, if you want to follow me on Instagram, Erin Bemis Speaks with underscores, happy to do so. Instead of me really just talking about me, though, and you did see my face, it's so fun, I thought I'd do a little pictorial walkthrough of who I am and how I got to where I am today. So I am one of 13 children. And I mention this not only because it's a fun fact and it's a great party breaker when you're trying to meet new people, but it's also because I talk fast and I've been working really hard on it to slow myself down. But growing up, I had to speak fast if I wanted my mom or dad's attention. So bear with me. There's a pic of me and most of my siblings. I also live in Michigan. So for all of my Canadian neighbors, that's just it. We're neighbors. And for the rest of you here in the US, I consider you a neighbor too. So it's a nice snowy pic for you there. I have been married to 20 years to my husband, Jim, and we are the proud, on most days, parents of 3 teenage boys. Whoops, I am not sharing it. You cannot see my screen. People can see your screen. Yes, you can see my screen. No, you cannot see my screen. All right, let's do a quick little adjustment here. Thank you for popping in on the questions. I did turn off the webcam so that you can't see me. You should be able to see my screen though. So let me do a quick little check here. Now we can, and it's working. Okay, thank you for pointing that all out. Okay, you guys are good. All right, well, now you can see my faces. You see my snow, you see my siblings, you see my teenage boys. My house is really smelly. They are 16, 17, and 19 at the moment. And of course, in this pandemic that we're in, they are all at home with me. So they are also on strict instructions to not use the Wi-Fi while mom is working this afternoon. Here's a picture of me at SEMA, one of my favorite things that I've gotten to do as a national speaker and trainer. SEMA is a high performance automotive show. It's one of the largest in the world. That was a highlight for me. And what I really love to do in my spare time, well, I like to drink wine. And instead of showing you that, I thought I'd show you in myself in a vineyard. And I also love to travel. I work so that I can travel. That is my purpose. And I really am not meant to be a snow bunny. I really am meant to live at the beach. It's my favorite place to be and hoping to get back there soon. So that's me in a nutshell, but you're not here to hear about that. You're here to learn about Google. So here's our agenda for today. We're going to talk about how Google helps businesses reach customers. We're going to really learn about how it actually works and then how you can work it to make it work for you. And then the second section is all about the resources. This is my favorite spot. It is a one-stop shop. I kind of call it a crock pot with lots of information and lots of tools. Every tool that I'm going to talk about today is free of charge. They cost nothing except for your time to learn them, obviously. The other thing that I want to point out before I go any farther is that this presentation has lots of URLs in them and direct links to things. The very last slide before we go into intermission, I have all of the URLs on one page so that you can either take a screenshot or you can snap a picture with your phone, or obviously you'll be able to access it once you have the slides from today as well. So let's go ahead and dive in and start by learning how Google helps us reach our customers. The trick with marketing, and I want to talk kind of old school marketing for just a minute before we go any farther, is that successful marketing will happen when you connect with customers in moments that matter to them. When you are solving a problem that they have or answering a question that they have. Obviously in real estate, that usually has something to do with buying a property or selling a property. Maybe it's leasing a property. So you're solving problems for both buyers and sellers constantly. If you can connect with them in an online moment, that will be one of those 6 touches that it often takes for us to garner new clients or to build relationships with people. I'm sure you're not surprised to see that billions of local searches are happening each month. Billions with a B. We're rapidly approaching where we're going to start seeing billions in weeks. And 4 out of 5 consumers are using search engines to find information online before they pick up the phone and actually make a transaction in a local connection. So those are just some important statistics to go forward. Now, one more thing that I want to cover in terms of general marketing is kind of your process with your customer journey. Clearly, in real estate, your relationships that you build with your customers are imperative. They're mission critical for you to be able to not only close the deal that you're working on, but hopefully keep them as a long-term client so that they come back to you the next time that they want to sell what they've just bought, or they want to grow their portfolio and add to the amount of properties that they own. Obviously, all good scenarios for you. So what I want you to do is kind of think about Google in a way that it is taking near you searches to provide near you opportunities for you. The searches on the customer side and the opportunities for you on the provider side. Now, do me a favor and just think about your ideal client or your best client that you have right now. And I want you to picture them in your mind. I want you to think about what they look like. I want you to think about how they dress and what kind of shoes they wear. I want you to think about their economic background. Do they have disposable income, or are they just building it because they're younger and they're just starting their families and getting established in their careers? What do they do for fun? Are they the kind of people that would go on 5-star vacations and want valets and butlers and, Michelin star food? Or are they going camping because they're more family oriented? I really want you to picture them as a whole, not physically, just as a whole, all of their life. And I want you to ask yourself this: would you repeat that customer if you could? Because clearly the answer is yes, especially when we're in sales, right? Yes, I want more of that. I want more of Susie. She's awesome. Great. Design your marketing for what Susie would be attractive to. If Susie's your best client, then Susie's probably going to find grays and whites and neutrals attractive. Craft your marketing to something that would attract her. Use language that she would use. Use design features that she would enjoy. Because you're crafting your advertising and your marketing to attract those ideal clients, right? And so if it's Susie, and then you're creating the marketing to attract her, and then you can share it, she can share it, she hangs out with people that are like her, usually. Most people spend more time outside of their family with people that are similar to them. They're in similar social situations, similar economic situations, similar family situations. And so you can use that to attract more. I'm going to hear pauses along the way as I wet my whistle as I keep talking. So I like this slide because it also talks about that customer journey, right? When we're going to online, the first thing that happens is, what is the question that is asked by the consumer that is doing the search? What's the problem that they have? What solution are they looking for? What property are they trying to buy, or are they renting, or are they leasing, or are they selling? What is that question? And what words are they using? I find often, no matter what industry I'm talking to, but when I'm talking to a specific industry, we in our industry have certain language that we use, right? It's our industry speak, if you will. But that doesn't mean that our customers use those same words or those same inflections or tones. So make sure that when you're doing your marketing, you're matching it to the consumer, not to what you're used to and comfortable with. Does mean you sometimes have to step outside of your comfort zone. The second bubble here, the yellow one, it is supposed to be stuck on the same slide, by the way. A lot of you are talking about this. It's supposed to be here. I'm getting there. So the second slide is the words that they use to plug in. 1 is what is their problem? 2, what words are they using? 3, the green button at the top, the green circle, is the results. Hopefully, you've got your marketing set up well enough so that based on the words and the problems that they're trying to solve, you come up as the match. And then the last spot is where it falls on you. This is your responsibility. Hopefully, Google's done its job to get the customer to you. They've selected you from the search query. Is your website good enough to seal the deal? Does it do what you want it to do? If you are trying to get someone to call you, do you have your phone number listed where it's clearly visible on your website? If you want them to look at a gallery of photos of a property, do you have the gallery easily accessible? If you want them to fill out a form, like a lead form, so that you can then follow up with them later, do you have that form clearly accessible? I'm going to use terms today, and I do have language speak as well, but knowing the process, try and we'll keep it in language that you understand as well. In our industry, it's called above the scroll, which, excuse me, if we read information in the newspapers like we used to, all the important stuff is above the fold. It's on the top half, correct? The same thing in a digital space. So whether you're on a mobile device or you're on a tablet or you're on a computer, whatever shows on the screen without the consumer having to use their mouse or their cursor or their finger to move it is what we call above the scroll. And that's where all your critical information should be. So let's talk about how Google search actually works. I think a lot of people commonly just don't think it's all on the web automatically. Well, it's not. You've got to put it there, and you've got to put it in the right places to be found, especially on a massive tool like Google. My goodness, excuse me. So how search works is there are web crawlers, which are software, and I think of it like a spider, and it crawls around and it goes out and collects information from all these different websites, and it takes it back home, which is Google. So Google's crawler is called Googlebot, and it goes in and out of websites collecting information and sends it all back. So what does that really mean? Well, now Google's got all this information. Good golly. And it needs to organize it. I liken this to an old school Dewey Decimal System in the library. So all of this information that is collected by Googlebot is stored in Google's index. And the index organizes the information collected by the bot by page content and other factors as well. So how does it go through and get it? Well, it goes from page to page, in and out, right? Well, okay, think of your website as a house. And the Googlebot is going to go in the door, and it's going to go out the window, and it's going to crawl underneath this crack, and it's going to go in here and up into the attic and down into the basement and into the pantry too. What it does is it goes from link to link. So you have text links and you have different pages on your website, and it goes through and it looks at all of that. So what is it looking for? Well, it's looking for new content, relevant content, and it's looking for content based on location. Those are the top 3 things in Google's SEO algorithm. And I'll talk about that in a couple slides in more detail, but relevant and new information. So the relevancy has to do with being able to kick out the right page from the index to the searcher in a matter of milliseconds based on the information, both on your website, which is the giving end, if you will, and the consumer's word choice that they used in the search bar, which would be the receiving end. So think of it that way. All your little links, every little change you make, all along the way, all makes an impact. So kind of in a general sense, and I'll go through this pretty quickly because I think everyone has seen what a Google page looks like. Me, I am your customer. I enter my search query, and then I get a result. So my results look like this. you have URLs. Underneath the URL is a page title. And then underneath the page title is a page description. It's a couple sentences of words that tell about that website. Now, each of that collected information, the URL, the page title, and the description, is called a snippet. That is our industry term for that. And then over on the right-hand side, sometimes you'll see a business profile. Excuse me. The business profile is also sometimes called a Google My Business page. They are the same thing. We're in the middle of transitioning what those are called. I'm going to take a large sip of water here and try and get this tickle out. I'm sorry. And so the business profile is also a free tool from Google for all small businesses. And I'll talk more about that coming up as well. Now, on the search results page, you may also see ads. All of the text ads are demarked with an ad box, if you will. Those have recently been upgraded to be in bold, so they stand out a little bit more. You can tell a little easier which one is an ad and which one is not. And there may be shopping ads across the top as well, which are usually photos on the top. We'll talk more about ads in the next presentation. I'm not going to tend to spend a ton of time here, but I do want to give you one more little piece from the search results page, which is good little marketing intel, especially when I'm talking about how we are walking through the customer journey and we're using language that our consumers like and the words and language that they would use. Out at the very bottom of the search results page, which most of us don't go to anymore, are related searches. These are words and phrases that other people similar to the consumer that did the original search have typed in looking for similar answers. So something to think about when you're looking for other language to use or other sites to take a shot at. That's just a free little hint for you there. Now, if we were in a live class, I'd put you on pause and ask you to do a search results, but I want you to do it on your own when you're actually conducting this stuff on yourself. Go to Google and look for yourself. Do you show up? And hopefully, yes. Okay, how does it look? Where do your clicks take you? Take some time to play around with your own website as if you were the consumer. And if you don't show up, what shows up instead? Do you recognize those? Are they your competitors? What are they doing that you're not, right? So one of the things that also pops up here quite often is the fact that along the way, if you type in, say, realtor in Toronto, you're going to get a lot of options in Toronto. If I type in realtor in Toronto, it's also going to give me results in Toronto. But if I type in realtor near me, it's going to pop up here in Northern Michigan, not in Toronto, right? So things to think about. I was once working with a gal, and this is, I know it's an unrelated example to your industry, but a very powerful connection in terms of how Google works and where you want it to be. She is a massage therapist, or was before the pandemic. She's currently on hold like all the rest of them. And I was doing some work and she reached out to me and she said, hey, I just heard you're doing some work for Google now. And I said, sure. She said, do you want to trade for services? Yes, I sure do. And so I did a little research before I showed up. She's pretty tech savvy. She does a lot of it herself. She's a one-man shop. She's fairly young, I'll just say that, instead of dropping someone into a bucket. And she said, well, I'm doing pretty good. I was number 2 on the search list. And I said, well, Lindsay, that's curious because when I searched for you, you were on page 3, which is where all the people are that you don't want to find, right? So I said, what did you type in? Because I had typed in massage Charlevoix. And she had typed in the name of her business with the town that she was in. Very, very specific. Well, clearly, if you type in your exact name and your exact location, hopefully you are the first one that pops up. But think a little more general because most people aren't going to remember that. They're just going to say realtor in general in your case, right? Not necessarily one particular brokerage or another. So just a little practice there for you on your own time. Where I really want to dive in, let's do my favorite section, the meat. Here are some SEO tips. And I told you I would spend more time on SEO, and I'm going to do it right here. SEO, search engine optimization. It is what helps you pop up organically in the Google search without paying for it. One question that constantly pops up is, can I pay some, so-and-so marketer said that I can pay them $5,000 and I will be #1 on the search results. I want to be very clear. You cannot pay anyone. There is no magic number that I can go in and order and say, I want to be first. You can, however, hire a marketer that will do all of these things that I'm about to talk about, which will help your SEO and will help you get to the top faster. So that's a very common question, and in webinar format, try and answer questions along the way that I know we're going to get to. So as I mentioned, there are 3 key components to SEO. Currently, there are well over 200 factors in Google's formula or its algorithm for SEO. In no way am I going to list those for you, or no way am I even know what they are, but I do know that the top 3 are consistent all the time in their weights and measurements, and that is relevancy, it is location, and it is content. So relevant, original content. What is content? Clearly, it's the words that you're using on your site, but it's also video. It's also images, as long as you have them properly tagged. I'll talk about that in a minute as well. Relevancy is, again, that word match game between you, the giver, and me, the consumer or the receiver, right? Making sure that we are using the same terms, that you are offering what I'm looking for. That's the relevancy component. And the content component really has to do with the freshness of it as well. When was the last time you updated your website? Because if you haven't updated your website in a year, Google's bot is crawling around and going back to the index saying, I don't think they're in business anymore, because there's nothing new, nothing's changed, right? And that's an example. It's not an actual thing that Googlebot says. So how often do you need to update your website? The answer is, and it's not as dialed in as I'm sure you would like it for it to be, it's as often as you can. If you can do it every day, that's awesome. Do it. If you can do it only once a week, that's better than once a month. And once a month is better than once a quarter. And if you can't do it at least once a quarter, hire someone to help you. That's the best piece of advice I can give you, because you're really good at selling real estate. That doesn't mean you're really good at doing marketing. So it's okay to focus on what you're really good at as your own business and find someone to help you with the parts that would take you a lot of time and take you away from what's actually making you money, which is selling, leasing, buying. So we want to know about all this stuff. And yes, it is organic content. I just saw that pop in as well. Now let's talk about the organization of your website. I've already talked about above the scroll and where your prime real estate is on your website, right? It's what pops up very first when I get to your website. Are you taking advantage of it? So I mean this in a couple of different ways, because not only do you need to provide the information that you want them to have, right? Your phone number or your form or whatever it is that you want them to do, right? But you also don't want it so cluttered that it's hard to get to. And remember that most searches are happening on a mobile device in today's world. And my finger and my thumb are kind of big. So you also want to make sure that you're utilizing space organization as well, so that I'm not clicking the wrong link consistently and then getting frustrated and leaving you to go to your competitor. That's what you don't want to happen. The other thing is, when it comes to organization, is think about it from a desktop or laptop as well, because I know you guys have all been to a website and you see the bar across the top and it's got kind of the 5, 6, 7, 12 different header topics, if you will, to choose from. And when I click on that, I get a drop-down menu. And then I go down about 2/3 of the way to find the one that I want, and I hover over it, and then a sidebar menu pops out, and there's another 8 choices, and then I repeat those. You start looking like a bad country line dance. And I also get frustrated in that. Make it simple and make your flow consistent with what a consumer would think of. And if you're ever curious and really want good feedback as to how your potential client or customer might view your website, go back to that first one and ask her. Go to your favorite customer, or him, I should say, right? And ask them, can you give me an honest audit on my website? What do you like about it? What would you change? Is there something that might be more appealing or something that doesn't work? Just ask for feedback. Feedback is a gift. I once worked for Constant Contact, an email marketing company, one of my favorite jobs ever, by the way. And Gail Goodman was our CEO. And within my first week of working for the organization, she and I had a sit-down conversation because she was that kind of a CEO. It was awesome. And she said something that I still think about all the time. Feedback is a gift, and we'll talk more about that later. So along with your organization for SEO, I also want you to think about page titles and descriptions. Going back to my friend Lindsay, the one that I did the trade for services with, this was her problem. This is why she was on page 3, not on page 1, because she is doing it all herself. And she had gone to some classes like this and heard all this same kind of information and started doing updates on her own. And she started reorganizing things into a different customer flow. Very common. But she didn't change her page titles and her descriptions when she moved pages around. So the old page title might have said menu of services, and the information on the page was actually the about us information, right? So it didn't match. Those need to match. That's another thing that Googlebot is looking for. So page titles and descriptions. If you're not sure what a page title and description is, it's probably because you had someone build your website for you. You're not used to that. That's where that came from. You can just ask them to double check it. If you're like what I would say most small businesses are that I run across, we often pay people to develop a website for us and then we update it ourselves. That's where you'll get caught up. So just make sure that you're paying attention to that. Optimizing images. Really important when you're doing images to use alt text, which is ALT TEXT. Alt text or an alt tag in some websites. This is how those that are visually impaired know what a photo is. So an alt text and an alt tag are the same thing depending on which one and which type of website that you have. And what it is think of it like an old school photo album from your grandmother's house, right? And so you have your photo album with those sticky pages and the photo on the front, she probably wrote underneath it, and that's a caption, right? Writing underneath it is a caption. But if you flipped it over, on the back, she probably wrote what the picture was too, like Jim and Bob riding bikes, 1976, right? That would be like the alt tag. Alt tags are not visible to the consumer on your website or the front end of your website. They are only on the back side. And what they do is they help your SEO because that's your keyword description in there. So you want to make sure that you've got alt tags in your images or alt text attached to it. Usually that's in the gallery section of your website where you're working with your photos and you're uploading them. There's usually a tag section in there. Fast load time. As of 18, I believe, this became also a more significant part of Google's SEO algorithm. And load time has to do with how fast does your website pop up when viewed on a mobile device. And I will give you a tool coming up shortly to help you with that. And that ties right into the last piece, which is making sure that you're optimized for mobile. It seems really silly to me in my own world that I'm still saying this to people because I've been preaching this for like 10 years now. You have to have a mobile responsive website. I used to say things like, you should be mobile friendly. Now I say things like, you have to be optimized for mobile because the majority of searches are happening on a mobile device. So that was an awful lot of SEO tips on one page. Let me dive into the section now where I can give you specific resources that are going to help you in marketing your business. So the first is that free business profile that I showed at the very beginning, and you can kind of see that on the screen on the right-hand side. Again, these are for all small businesses, with a couple of exceptions. If you are all online, which most realtors are not, you usually have an office, then that wouldn't work for you. Now, one thing that I know very specifically to real estate that I want to mention here with Google My Business, there are two things that are most likely going to happen for you. One, your brokerage firm, the one that I was with was Vacation Properties Realty back in the day. It's now been bought a couple times and is something else, but it was Vacation Properties Network. And so they had, or would have had, because this wasn't around then, their own Google business page. But then independently, me as the realtor that worked for that broker would also have my own page. And that is allowed within this platform. So that works for things like barbers and some other industries that are similar, financial consultants, accountants, things like that, where you have multiple people that are truly independent contractors in an office. That all works. So that's your Google business pitch. To get started, you go to google.com/business. Now, what does it do? Well, it does all of this stuff. It's great. This is what it looks like on a mobile device. On the very top, you'll have photos and videos. It is photos that you upload as well as photos that I might upload of your business as well. Same thing with videos. Videos in GMB, which is my lingo for Google Business Profile. 30 seconds of length for a video. Your business overview is going to have your name, your star rating if you have one of those. It'll give you the little dollar signs if you have one of those as well established. It'll tell you your main business category and your location, and then say either open or closed. The next section is the quick link section. And so you've got direct buttons that while I'm on my phone, I can call you, I can ask for directions, I can save it or send it to somebody else using the save button. I can go to your website directly. Having your Google business profile is how you get your business listed on Google Maps. And I'm going to say that again because it's very important. Having your business show up on Google Maps, it takes having a Google business profile to show up on Google Maps. So it's kind of a quick thing, but you notice the one piece that I didn't talk about was reviews. This is where you will start gathering your Google reviews. It does not aggregate and take in reviews from other places. So it won't bring in your Facebook reviews or Yelp or any of those others. It will just be your Google reviews. But this is where you get notification that someone left you a review and gives you the opportunity to respond to them. And because I didn't really have a home for reviews anywhere else, I want to take just a second and talk about the importance of them. Reviews are so important, right? If I were in a live class, I'd be asking you to raise your hand and show me how many of you have bought something because of a review, or how many of you have not bought something because of a review, because we're getting very trusting of strangers and what they have to say about other people. But just important as the words that are left about you is the response that you leave to those words. I've seen many that aren't handled well, frankly, and I'm willing to give a business a second shot or maybe even a third shot based on the fact that I can see that you care about customers, and that's showing there. I did see one question pop in right here, and I'm going to answer it right now because it's a great one. Can you turn off the reviews? No. It is organic and it is simple, and they are there, and it's the good stuff, right? So think about how often you're leaving reviews for people too, because I often find that I'm not in the habit of leaving reviews on a regular and consistent basis. That's actually become one of my own quarantine challenges, is that I'm going in to leave reviews of businesses that I'm either doing work with right now or will in the future or have in the past, right? Ones that I know have good stuff. Something about reviews also, you cannot incentivize someone to leave you a review. I don't think you guys have too much of a problem with that in the real estate industry, in terms of, you're not like the local pub where you can say, I'll give you your next draft beer for free if you leave me a good review. That's not a problem. But what you do want to do is make sure that you're asking for reviews on a regular basis, that you're responding to all of them, including the bad ones, but hopefully responding to the bad ones in a wow, I'd like to learn more, or I'm really sorry you had such a bad experience. Can you contact me at, right? So one of the things that I also see popping in often, and this comes up all the time, is, man, that's a fake review, right? That's my competitor who went online and left me a review. They never did any work with me. What do I do? And I say, well, first of all, they're not your competition. If they're sitting around on their hiney and they have time to go leave you a bad review when they had nothing to do with you, and you're out working with clients, you're the winner in this case. So try and just shrug it off and move on. The secondary part to that, though, is like the fake reviews, or the ones that aren't real, or the ones that you just don't like, right? And you want to take them down. It is, and this is the unpopular answer, but it is the truth. It is nearly impossible to get a review taken down from Google. It really does have to be a violation of Google's terms of service. So it has to be flagrant, it has to be foul, right? It has to be threatening, something along those lines. It is very, very difficult. I have seen it done successfully. It's a long process, and it doesn't always seem fair when you're the one that's being reviewed badly. Again, I would encourage you to work on getting the good reviews and flood it so that there's more good than there are bad. And the last thing that I want to say about reviews before I move on is this: don't get hung up on the fact that you're a 4.7. You're a 4.7 stars out of 5. That is really good. Anything above a 4, no one is going to blink an eye at the fact that you're a 4.7 and not a 4.8. So don't get hung up on that 1 or 2 reviews that may be lowering your star rating. You're doing a good job. Even a 3 is not bad. 1s and 2s, yeah, we got a lot of work to do. We can get there. So don't get hung up on those facts. For the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and keep moving along. And I have a lot more information to get through, so I want to make sure we get there. So posting updates is also something you can do in Google Business. I'm going to fast forward through this as well, because I want you to have these tools. I talked about Test My Site, your speed test, how important it is to have a fast loading website on a mobile phone. You can use this tool, which is free, g.co/testmysite, and plug in your URL, and it will give you a score of how you're doing. Google likes to use green, yellow, and red, and you'll see that often in these next 3 tools that I'm about to talk about. And it'll give you suggestions on what may be slowing you down and some things to improve on to help improve your speed test score. Next is Search Console, which measures your site performance. So where Google Analytics measures what I, the consumer, do on your website, Search Console shows you how Google looks at your website. So one note on Search Console: for those of you that have been in marketing for a while, you used to use Google Webmaster Tools. This is the same thing. This is the new rebranded version. A little bit more oomph to it now than we used to have in it as well. And the other thing about Search Console is you do actually have to set up a separate account. It's still free of charge, but you do have to create a separate login for Search Console compared to all these other tools that I'm giving you. So again, that's how Google looks at your website. If you have a 404 error or a video that doesn't load, it will show up there. And then of course, Google Analytics, which is how your consumer interacts on your website. So where are they coming from? What pages are they looking at? What are their behavior flows? And we have the next presentation all about Google Analytics, so I'm not diving in there either. Now this one's just a fun one. Google Trends, I don't know if any of you guys have heard about this one. It's a popularity contest for words, and you can have your words compete, but you can also do it based on location. You can do it on time. You can play around with that. g.co/trends. And here's an activity for you to try on your own. You can go there, enter words or phrases, and try and figure out what's going on where, narrow down your results by the location, fiddle with the dates, and then explore the related queries. Again, more marketing gold for you when you're putting your information on. All right, social media marketing. I teach half-day classes on social media marketing, and I put all of my knowledge onto one slide for you here today. You're welcome. Your content should be entertaining and engaging. And really what this means is that you can't sell 100% of the time. That you just can't. You don't want to be sold to 100% of the time on your social media pages. So why do you do that to the consumers that follow you? Please don't. I beg you, really am on my knees here begging you not to. Here's a little formula that I have used now for 10 years, and it works. It just works. It's not, you don't have to be strict on the percentages. It might ebb and flow a little bit more for you here or there, but 50% of what you post, half of what you post on social media should be funny and entertaining, or maybe motivational or inspirational would fall under that bucket. 30% of what you post should be related to what you do, but not actually about you, still not selling. You're only going to sell for 20%. So 50% relate or entertaining, motivational, inspirational, think funny, right? I say this, I want to be clear though that I'm talking about all the social media channels except LinkedIn. LinkedIn really is the professional thought leadership social media platform and really should stay that way. All the others, we're there to be entertained. Entertain us. Make it funny. Make it good. And let your personality show through. This is your opportunity to connect with your consumers and start to build a personal relationship. So take advantage of it. Email marketing. You already heard me say I spoke for an email marketing company. Same thing. All day boot camps, one slide. You're welcome. The biggest thing for email is compliance. And I know that all of you in Canada are clear and understanding of CASL, which is the Canadian anti-spam legislation that came through a couple of years ago. That's pretty significant change for you guys. It's also for us Americans, because especially for me, I'm in Michigan. I'm right next door to Canada, literally. And it created a whole another issue. So if you're not aware of what those parameters are and requirements, do a little work. It's CASL for those of you that aren't aware. But on the more specific part, when I'm talking about email marketing here, I'm talking about a one-to-many approach, a newsletter or an announcement, right? Your email list that you have. Clear subject lines. Current standard, 2 to 5 words. Emojis or emoticons are totally fine, but use them carefully. I've seen some pretty big box chains do really bad job of using emojis, because there's also some, off color things that certain emojis mean, and you don't want to get caught in that. The other thing is your call to action. Again, above the fold, the mobile design, just like your website. Correct spelling and grammar is really no thoughts. What is my thought about 3-minute read? That's a great question. I'm going to add that to the end. And one other thing, don't ever use the word specialist in email. I told you I was going to be entertaining. This might be the spot where it hits that for you. Email marketing, don't use the word specialist, because if you take the word specialist and you spell it out and you take the T off the end and the SPE off the front, the word that is hiding in the middle is Cialis. And if you don't know what Cialis is, that's a whole nother class that I am certainly not okay to teach, but it will land you in spam every single time if you use specialist in your email. Fun thought. So because I know there's a ton of great questions, I want to go through a quick recap. Search-friendly websites, useful information that should load quickly and work on all devices. Take a look at some of those tools that I talked about: Google My Business, Test My Site, Search Console, Analytics, and Trends. And then maybe advertising when you're ready to go. Great suggestions in here, and that's fantastic. Okay, so there are a couple of great questions that I kind of snagged along the way, and I want to keep us on our time frame, and I know we're at 2:50, so let's just answer some of them. The first question that grabbed my attention was back when I was talking about SEO, and does my blog that is attached to my website to add in a great feed work for SEO? Yes, blogging is one of the best things that you can do for SEO on your website. It connects in multiple places. It's a connect on multiple platforms. It's really, really good. So yes to blogs. If you're not blogging, think about it. And blogging might work too in a vlog format, a video format. We'll talk about YouTube at the 4 o'clock hour, I believe. Another question that I saw pop up, can you repeat the formula that you used on social media, and any other advice you can give there? I saw a couple of times too. So I'll touch right back there. 50, 30, 20. 50, funny and entertaining, motivational, inspirational. 30%, related to your business, but not about your business. So for you guys in the industry, you might be talking about, let's see, if you're on the development side of real estate, you might be talking about some of the new boundaries or something from the city planner's office that has come out, right? It could be a general article about real estate sales. It's not necessarily your office real estate sales. So just good stuff there. And then 20% is your actual trying to sell to your clients and customers, making your information known and available that's out there. Can you send this valuable information through email as well? Yes, there are a couple people that tuned in late, and I did see that question multiple times. Yes, all of this recording and PDF of the slides will be available later in the week for you guys too. Can you use your Facebook and LinkedIn page as a website? No, you cannot. It's really not going to help your SEO because they have their own algorithms that are connected there. So you just want to know that. On the other social media stuff too, like I mentioned briefly, it's your opportunity to connect with your customers, right? So here's the thing. As a realtor, I wouldn't be spending time on Snapchat. That's just not me right now, right? Because who's on Snapchat? It's teenagers and I would say into like mid-20s for your age range. Most of those people don't have the amount of income needed to purchase a property from me, right? Maybe in the leasing side of things, if that were my focus in the industry, that would be a totally different conversation. But purchasing, no. Leasing, yes. What about, let's see, TikTok? I have seen some way cool. TikTok's my new thing, also a quarantine habit. I have, on a funny note, my teenagers, we're doing these life skills. So we have a whole list of life skills we're doing this week. And they can opt out of the day's life skill, but then they have to do a TikTok with me because I want to start doing TikTok. And they have given me lessons. I've taken 15-minute lessons. I had a week-long tutorial and it was really fun. But I've seen some really awesome real estate stuff in TikTok. Way cool. Home tours, properties, functions. When we talk about, you know, different amenities that different properties have and things like that. Really fantastic. So something to maybe think about there, because TikTok is definitely not just the youngsters like it was. Quarantine has exploded it. Over 30 and over 40 are some of the fastest growing hashtags in there. A couple of other questions, and then I want to go through email marketing companies. What is the best email marketing tool? Okay, that's a loaded question. So I'm going to say, clearly I work for Constant Contact, so I love them, but it doesn't work for everybody. If you have a massive email list, Constant Contact's just not big enough. And by massive, I mean like 50,000 plus kind of a thing. It's a lot. For most people, it works really well. If you are tech savvy and you are super comfortable, I should actually turn my camera back on here so you guys can see me. If you're very tech savvy and you're comfortable with doing stuff on your own and you don't need a ton of help, MailChimp might be just fine. Myemma's another one that's out there and doing good. I mean, there's only about a bajillion out there on the planet to pick from. Constant Contact and MailChimp are by far the two most popular that are out there. The thing that I love about Constant Contact is the built-in support. So you are paying for your account up front, but you get support immediately and you have account managers and people to help you with stuff. So it's great in terms of that. MailChimp, you don't have any support. It's everything on your own. That's why they're able to offer the really low price point for that one. And then the second that you need help, you have to start paying. So my advice to you, most of them offer, you know, free trials, whether it's a week or 2 weeks. Try a couple out, find the one that works for you, because they all have different functions and features and functionality to it. So there's that. What is my opinion on adding more than 10 hashtags on Instagram? I was told that it should be kept to a minimum, but I'm a little confused. So here's the thing, there's not really a rule of thumb on Instagram. Instagram is owned by Facebook. I much prefer Instagram over Facebook. That's my own personal opinion. And I would agree, keep it to a minimum. Don't hashtag the heck out of it. And the other thing while we're talking about hashtags, there's just another marketing piece to keep in mind. I love videos because you can see that I talk with my hands. But on hashtags, you know, hashtag, make sure that when you're using a hashtag, you've actually searched it first to make sure that it doesn't mean something else, right? Because what you don't want to do is use a hashtag on your business post and then come to find out that it's a very inappropriate thing, right? So be cautious on that when you're doing those. Instagram, Facebook ad, or Google ad, totally different markets. Not even going to touch on that. We're going to talk on advertising in the next section, so I'll go to that. And I saw one other question that I want to tap, and then I'm going to go into the break so we can start the next one on session. Where did it go? More ad questions. You guys, the ad questions we're going to hold to the next spot. There's a lot in there. Email, copy, recorded stock, blah, organic. Okay, I can't find the one I was looking for. If I can find it in the next one and it's appropriate. Oh, here we go. Oh, how do you create site links? Just like you showed the tips for appearing in organic results slide, such as schedule. And I think that, so the scheduling piece has to, I think you're talking about the scheduling piece tied to the Google business profile, which is an option there and it's free. In terms of site links, that's a whole nother topic. Okay, so we're gonna hold that one. We can come back to it. I can try and find some information for you. But it is 2:58, which means we're going to close her out because we want to start the next one on time. I do have an intermission video that we're going to go ahead and play. And then Isaac and I will be back in just a few moments to start the next session. Thank you guys for all of your great questions in here.